Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to one more video to the book of the week. This week we will be talking about Taxtopia. I just came today. I came back a couple of days from London, but I went to another city of Spain called Murcia on the southeast of Spain. I don't know if you really know a little bit. I went to see a girl. She's a friend of mine. So I'm now back home, and I'm gonna make a nice summary of Taxtopia. Even though it's a hard topic because taxation is really complex and it really varies according to the place, well, to the country or to the territory, or yeah, because even in the European Union it differs from Asia, America, whatever. So I will focus on the taxation system in UK and European Union. However, I think it might be similar to other countries, as a lot of the countries around the world they use and copy the same system that they use in Europe or in Western countries as they see that is already working. So let's get it. Right. Firstly, I'm going to introduce you to some basic information. I will be talking about different type of frauds or avoiding taxation because it's definitely clear that across the world tax systems are designed to let the richest people off 100% due to some stuff or another. I'm not saying necessarily it's good, it's bad. I think the main fault is from the government's side because it's them enabling the richest people and the big companies to avoid taxation due to the process you need to go through and the things that you need to acquire, which I will proceed to explain. And then I'm gonna talk about some, well, you will see. So basically, let me start. Taxtopia. I can't say anything about the author because he didn't want to reveal his identity. But firstly, I want to talk about different types of taxation in society. Sometimes, or for example, me and the people around myself, generally, they tend to think that taxation comes only in two ways, which is income taxation and corporate tax. So we forget sometimes all of the other types of taxations that the government introduced and used in order to get money from the society. So apart from the income tax, which is basically the amount of money charged on individual earnings like wages, pensions, benefits, this taxation normally depends on the income bracket you are in. Generally, the more money you earn till a certain point, taxations taxation increase. Probably if you have like the minimum wage here in Spain, France, European Union, let's say around 1.2, 1.4k, 1.5, I think is the income tax is around 20%. Then, if your salary goes, let I think around 100k, 120k over per year annually, income tax will go up to 45, 50%, 53%, depending on which country are you in. But around 45 and 50% of your salary will go to the government. This is crazy. It means you are working half of the year just to pay the government. Unbelievable. So then there is corporation tax, of course, as you know, which is basically the amount of money paid by companies on their profits. On their profits, listen carefully, I will come back to this later. So it's like a direct tax imposed on corporate entities. Then we have the VAT, which you probably know, which is value added tax, which is basically a consumption tax. Each time you buy something at a retail store or whatever, you get charged a extra tax, a percentage. Then you have council tax, for example, in the UK, which is basically paid by households. So this is like a local taxation. I currently rented a new apartment in London. Fortunately, like I'm a student and my friend too, we don't need to pay council tax, but generally people need to for like rubbish collection, road maintenance, all of this. You know what I mean, right? Then national insurance. Like there are many multiple uh, taxes and ways of for the government to get a commission on every transaction. Inheritance tax, which is basically when someone dies and passes his or her possessions, property, money, whatever, to the following generation. So we will talk about different ways of how rich people and big corporations avoid these taxes and find ways to confuse the government. I want to talk about something cool that is called carousel frauds. Maybe you've heard about them, maybe you don't. I'm gonna try to explain them in the most basic way and easy for you to understand. So, what is it, the carousel fraud? Basically, there are three corporations which are registered, let's say within the European Union. This tends to happen because in the European Union, if you don't know, when you import goods from another country, the government will repay you back the amount of money, which is 90%, I think 1919, from VAT that you pay, right? So basically, what some corporations do, I don't really know, is I don't think under the law they are all registered under the same name, but they know each other. So basically, a corporation buys products from another corporation in the European Union. So let's say a German company buys furniture from a Spanish company. Therefore, all the VAT that they pay, the 19% of their total costs, they will be repaid by the German government. Why? Because the German government wants to uh, enhance, improve, boost businesses, transactions, etc. Therefore, this middle company called it has a name. It's called the missing trader, the middle company, and you will know now why. So basically, once they receive the goods and got back the VAT, then they sell to a third company, let's say in Germany again. They sell all of the goods and they charge the 19%, and then they disappear. So they don't pay this 19% to the government that they should on their sales, right? They disappear. So all of the workers leave, they close the company, they disappear, and basically they keep all of the money. Of course, this doesn't happen with a small amount of money. Just for you to get an idea, in 2019 alone, 130 billion euros in the European Union got disappeared. Like they didn't disappear, but I mean they they were kept by companies, and they should have ended up in the government. 130 billion euros in the European Union, not in Germany, not in Spain, in the whole European Union. But still, 130 billion euros, money that should be for the government. Then another way, something different, rich people and companies, this is especially for individuals, a way that they do to avoid taxation on certain countries. They basically have multiple residencies, and this is used to transfer wealth to countries where capital tax or income tax can't be really taxed, or they have a lower taxes. So, for example, you can live. It depends on the country's legislation, but for example, you could be living 6 months or more in Arabia Saudi, in Kuwait, in UAE, all of these countries with no tax, with no income tax. You live more than 6 months per year there, or 150 days, something like this. And then the rest of the days of the year, you can live them wherever you want. However, each time you get paid, as you are registered as a resident in this country, all the income you get doesn't get taxed, even though you are living 5.9 months of the year on Spain, on Europe, wherever, you don't pay taxes. Why? Because you have a residence somewhere else. You are living 6 months of the year somewhere else. This is as well. This is called like trans. No, it was called. I can't remember the name, but this is basically something. I can't remember the name, but this is basically a way to avoid paying taxation. This is kind of basic, common, but I wanna tell you guys just in case you didn't know. In order to carry out this technique, which is not really considered a tax avoidance, depends how you look at it and how you carry out this process. I think you only need like residence and a house to prove you're living in the country you choose, normally with lower taxes or no taxes at all, and just have proofs that you've been living on that country more than 6 months that year, and that's it. And then you should be okay. And this is like for a high level, a good amount of money made annually. But still, isn't something too complex. Something that I want to talk about that is cool and interesting too is transfer pricing is called. So basically transfer pricing is a strategy that is used by a lot of multinational companies to set prices for goods, services, or assets, and then it is exchanged between their own subsidiaries across different countries. So let me give you an example. For example, music companies or any type of company, right? Maybe even Starbucks. So basically, Starbucks, all of the money that they make at the end of every month or quarterly or annually or whatever, um, let's say Starbucks in Spain, at the end of the quarter, when they need to pay taxes from all of the revenue, what they do is they write off as expenses that they need to pay some type of they need to pay royalties or some cost to another Starbucks, let's say in Switzerland or Sweden, where they can avoid taxes. So the difference between an individual and a company is that on a company, first you cover all of your expenses and then you pay taxes, and on an individual, first you pay taxes and then you cover your expenses. And here is the difference. So, by royalties, other excuses, or whatever, they have the excuse to pay another company, which doesn't need to be under the same name, they pay another company all of their costs. And if they want, they have zero revenue and they pay no taxes. And however, on the other, let's say, for example, Isle of Man or any of these Caribbean islands, can receive all of their money as revenue and they will pay no taxes. So any of these big corporations can be operating with zero taxes. Of course, they need to pay some taxes because at the end, a lot of the things are publicly recorded and people is not that stupid. So you need to try to cover your image a little bit. But this is the way it works. So I'm gonna give you, and this can be done for rich people can do this with companies, jets. As Andrew Tate says, like he doesn't own anything. That the Bugatti is owned by a company, maybe in a Dutch island that owns a company that I might be working for them or something like this. So Lewis Hamilton, probably, as you will know, he owned the British Virgin Island Company and the Isle of Man, so leasing company. So basically, his jet it was allegedly leased only to Lewis Hamilton. So every time Lewis used the jet, he would pay the leasing company for his use. So as there is no corporation tax in the Isle of Man, every penny could be paid back to Lewis as a dividend to his bank account in Monaco where there is no income tax. So basically, Lewis Hamilton would rent a jet on a company that he owns a share, and this jet is only rented to Hamilton, and then The company in the Isle of Man will pay no taxes from all of the money that enters, and then the dividends will be come back to Hamilton Monaco's account where he doesn't pay taxes neither. So it's all like a circle and like boom, 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 boom. And this is not as complex as it gets. I'm trying to explain it from a basic point of view, and I don't really. This is basically what he's saying on the book, right? But there are probably much more complex ways of avoiding, but this is kind of the way it works. Setting up a company somewhere, having something else different, and really getting creative and knowing all of the legislations in different countries. So if you really don't know what to work on with this job, you are 100% gonna make a lot of money because you're gonna make rich people save a lot of money. And when you make someone rich save a lot of money, they pay you well. A clear example are yachts. Why yachts are so common and rich people love them and they don't mind spending 150 million euros? Why? Because with yachts it's an easy way to deduct expenses and to claim that you are a non-resident status on any of the countries, as you can be moving around, and there are certain areas where are like international seas, let's say, for example. Yachts are a nice way. So if you have a company that is making 200 million per year, you spend 150 million on a yacht, you don't pay taxes, and you get the 200 million. So you are making 50 million. You know what I mean? So yeah. So if you don't know what to work, you are a little bit creative and you wanna make nice money. I think this is something cool to get into consideration in your mind. Again, the taxation is really complex, and I try to explain it on a simple way. This book is good. It has some cool information, but I don't really like the way he speaks. He speaks all the time as if he was mad, kind. I think he's mad at the governments more than at the rich people, because at the end the rich people just take advantage of these laws, but the fault is from the governments because the governments are the ones making these things possible, you know. But yeah, I mean, if you have the resources, why not? I think most of the people who have the resources to avoid taxes or try to make as much money as possible in order to provide for them and their family should. I'm not saying billionaires shouldn't pay money, because I think they as well need to be part of the society and provide as well a bit for the society, but it's comprehensible. So, look, these are some of the books I've bought in the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, this week. And next week, I'll be talking about this book, Social, Why Our Brains Are Wired to Connect. So, basically, how our brains work, why connections are so important. Before, people thought that pain and pleasure were the most important in our lives. Everything turned around pain and pleasure, but apparently there are some other factors and why. Then many other books I've bought just in case you guys wanna read some. I'll be talking about all of these books in the following weeks. I can't upload every single book I read because I'm basically doing a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to make one per week because really I have a lot of things going on and it's hard for me to record them, edit them, upload them, etc. I have a lot of things on my mind always going on, but I try to do it. I try to stick to 1 book per week and keep it like this for now. So I hope it's useful for you guys. Remember that you can find the summary on the description. With summaries, you can read 1 book per day. By listening to these videos, you can read or have 1 book per day, which is something really good. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think, or do you agree? You don't? Why not? Why yes? Taxtopia by the Rebel Accountant. See you next week, guys.